Referee, blow the whistle. There's been another infringement. It's time. We are back. It's the Gone for 10 show. It's Larry, your host. Antonio, it's been a week. I didn't realize you would be that upset. What's that growth going on your face?
Oh, you know how it is, Larry. It's called the ISO beard. We are in ISO. We did have to watch the Roosters lose, so it's added about 10 kilos onto that beard.
Well, I've added 10 kilos onto my waistline, but nonetheless, we'll both lose. You lose your beard as I lose my weight. How does that sound?
It sounds like a plan.
All right, I love it. Let's talk about the rugby league, mate. Firstly, before I even talk about the actual games and what we learned and whatever, it was a belting round of football. I really enjoyed every game. I can't sit here and say, oh, one game was boring. And given the weather that Sydney has had, particularly, each game did shine. Let me ask you, did you have a favorite match of the round? I'm sure it wasn't the Rabbitohs Roosters match.
No, honestly, it definitely wasn't the Roosters match. I think that Thursday night game was really impressive for me. Obviously, we'll talk about it further in depth, but that Sharks game, how they played in the wet conditions, it was just brilliant to see, and it's good to see a team gelling like that.
Absolutely. All right, let's rip into it. We'll start with our first. Well, this is 10 things we've learned. So if you haven't familiarized yourself with it, we have done one before. Basically, at the end of each round, we instead of just sitting here telling you, oh, well, this match was good, this prop did well, that's boring. What we want to do is tell you the 10 things we learned while at the same time reviewing each match, because everyone likes something a little bit different. So let's start with the Dragons and the Sharks. Signing of the season, Nico Hines. Got some stats for you. 16 points, 5 out of 6 conversions, 102 running meters, 552 kicking meters, 4 tackle busts and 1 try assist. An absolute storming performance by Nico Hines. Antonio, it's a twofold question. One, did you think this guy was a halfback? 2, is he the signing of the season?
Yeah, obviously coming from Melbourne, we always thought he was a fullback. He was electric. When Pappenhausen was out, he played brilliant there. So for him to come in as a halfback, 5'8", wherever they're going to end up putting him for the rest of this season, and for him to perform like this in a new squad, a new coach, it's honestly unbelievable. And if you're making me pick the signing of the season from today, I can't look past Nico Hines.
He's absolutely flying. I got to admit, I thought he was good, but like you said, I thought they're getting a fullback. We heard they signed him to be a half, but then you thought maybe a 5'8", because you think of his strength, running game. He seems to be a controlling halfback. What a signing. Well, look, it is just round 3. We'll see how we go, but the signs are good. Let's talk about the Gold Coast Titans. And lesson number 2 for us will be the Titans' defense is a worry. What do you make of the Gold Coast Titans? Because they got themselves into a really good position, 22-0 up, and they blew it.
Yeah, honestly, it's as if it's still a bunch of youth. Obviously, the Titans come in, they love to go toe-to-toe, they like scoring tries, but it's just every single year we see this. They score a try, they concede a try. They score one, they concede one. And I'm sitting there at halftime, and I think I messaged you, Larry, and I was going, how shit are the Raiders? Like, the Raiders are finished. They're done for. 40 minutes later, the Titans look like they haven't learned how to defend in about 5 years. So very worrying signs for the Titans. And when they say defense wins premierships, the Titans are a very, very long way away.
Were Canberra good or were the Titans bad? Because at 22-0 down, you have every right to think, man, Canberra, typical, given what the Cowboys did to them. But then they come out in the second half, showed some resolve, maybe a little bit of character, more than we're giving them credit for.
Yeah, definitely some character shown by the Raiders. It showed they still have that bite and that fight, obviously, under Ricky. But it's a perfect example of a story of two halves, Larry. One half was dominated by one team. The other half came out and the Raiders took advantage and won the game.
Fair call. I can't say I see either of them playing finals football. What we learned, number 3, Latrell, is he the missing piece? We saw the Rabbitohs absolutely put the Roosters to the sword. Definitely their best performance this season. After an 0-2 start, it has to be said, no one gave the Rabbitohs much hope. They win the local derby. Latrell's left laughing over Joseph Manu. How good was Latrell Mitchell?
Yeah, obviously, it stings to say a little bit. Obviously, he's a great player. That aggression that he does play with is what gives him that advantage in these tight games. And obviously, we did see the point where maybe the Roosters bought too much into this grudge match when Joey Manu scored and threw the ball at Latrell. And when that happened, I just looked at actually my grandmother who I was watching the game with, and I just said, "That's not good. You've just pissed off Latrell," and that's when the whole game changed, and they took charge of it. So, mate, the guy's a freak, and if he can stay on the pitch and not suspended, he's in for a cracking season.
Not just that, he's building up to match fitness. I dare say in 3-4 weeks, I think he'll go up another level. I think this guy at his best, you can definitely throw him in the conversation for best fullback in the game. We touched on this a little bit earlier with the Titans, but lesson number 4, Raiders too inconsistent. While they I guess showed some resolve to make a comeback against the Titans, you look at their performance. We said this in our season preview, didn't we? They just don't know how to put it back to back. They showed great resolve to come back, but again, why are you down 22-0 at halftime? It's not good enough.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, if you look at the games they've already played, yes, they got a win against the Sharks in round 1. The Sharks weren't at 100% of their fitness. They went against the Cowboys, got absolutely thrown off the pitch, and they only played half a game, obviously, against the Titans this weekend. So I just don't think they're good enough to hold a full 80 minutes performance, Larry, and I don't see them playing finals football this year.
If they played every single round at GIO Stadium, they'd probably finish top 4, but there you go. North Queensland Cowboys, Dearden fulfilling his potential. Now, the important thing with Dearden here is we have to remember the Broncos let him go, and they let him go because they have Adam Reynolds on the books. Now, you look at it from the Cowboys' point of view. Look, I'm going to put my hands up. I had them finishing last. Now, I think another team has stolen the thunder a little bit, and we'll get to them as we go through the 10 things we have learned. But I have to say, the Cowboys are my surprise packet. Uninspiring, pardon me, against the Bulldogs in round 1, but they've really put now 2 resounding results together.
Yeah, 100%. And you're lucky you kind of breezed past that because you always like to give me stick about putting the Knights 14th. Well, I think we've both stuffed up on 2 teams here, but they're exciting. The Cowboys have those useful players. Obviously, they have Dearden, who's playing out of his mind. You've got the Hammer, who's popping up left, right, and center and creating things. And if you're a Cowboys fan, it's probably exceeding expectations, and it's exciting times to watch those kids play.
100%. Let's talk about the Penrith Panthers. Panthers aren't bulletproof. We saw that they looked a little bit shaky against the Knights initially, but obviously the send-off happens. I think enough's been said about that. It's a send-off. Don't really want to go too much more on it than we need to. But they showed some courage. While not at their best, they still succumb a comeback and they get the result. But I think they're showing, particularly, you look at the Dragons as well. They had a sin bin last week. Panthers took advantage. If you play consistently against the men from the foot of the mountains, I don't think they're unbeatable.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, we saw Newcastle, and great credit to them. Even with that player down, they put points on the board. They kept the game close for majority of that game. Yes, it blew out a little bit, but it's hard with Penrith because you don't know what's going to happen until you get Nathan Cleary back. He could come back. He gets teams on the back foot with his kicking game, and we could see that defense come back to where it was. But at this stage, they look shaky and they're leaking those points and tries that they just didn't leak the last 2 years, Larry.
On the Knights, lesson number 7, Clifford replaces Pearce seamlessly. I like Jay Clifford. I think he's done an outstanding job so far. And like we say, look, with a man sent off, they had every right to get demolished. They lost by 18 points in the end, Newcastle. I think they made a good account of themselves. And I got to say, Jay Clifford, I think, has been a massive part of that.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, we sat here last week and we were saying he was leading the Dally M's. Obviously, you're not going to get many points in a loss, but the way he still kind of took control of that game, he kind of moved them around the park, kept their spirits high. That's what you look for in that position. And if he can do that and we don't have those brain snaps like that elbow, I hate to say it, Larry, but maybe I got the Newcastle position wrong and maybe they are closer to that 8th position than what I thought at the start of the season.
I love to say it. Love it when you're wrong, which is, let's be honest, a lot of the time.
A lot of the time.
Lesson number 8, spoon looms for the toothless Tigers. Madge barely hung on to his job at the end of last season. I guess I have 2 questions for you. 1, is it really his fault? Because let's be honest, I think when you're looking at their squad, it probably is the 16th worst in the NRL. 2, do you think he'll end up getting the sack?
I think the coach has to take some accountability. I don't think it's his responsibility for the most part. I think that falls onto the players. They have a team that, yes, they don't have the best team, but they have certain stars. Like obviously Luke Brooks, he needs to start playing for his paycheck. He needs to start showing why they've got him on that contract. And that's not his fault as a coach. That's the board who put him on that long-term contract, who are now stuck with him. And obviously Hastings being injured didn't help this game, but it's a tough one. I don't know if anyone wants the job. So in saying that, I don't think he loses it because no one wants it.
Would you take the Tigers job?
No, because I'd probably be fired and abused by the fans inside 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I despise you already, and you're not the coach of anything for me. Lesson number 9, Dylan Walker, crucial for the Sea Eagles. Can I say, as a Dogs fan, he was absolutely everywhere yesterday, just popping up. I don't know what position he's playing when he's on the field, but I think he played a massive part in that Eagles result yesterday. He just knows how to make good meters. He's tough. He obviously established himself as a center, and then he was a 5'8" for a little bit. Now he just bops up in the middle of the field off the bench, and he absolutely dominates.
Yeah, I think he's definitely crucial. Obviously, Turbo teams have a game plan of how to stop him now. Cherry Evans hasn't looked like himself without Turbo getting him on the front foot. So it's crucial for a player like Walker to come in, add that little bit no matter where he's netted on the pitch and get his team moving forward. But like you said, and we'll probably touch on it a little bit more with point 10, but Larry, if you're a Bulldogs fan, you're happy even though you took that loss, and you're probably happy after those 3 games where if you're a Manly fan, you're thinking our only win of the season was a 1-point win to the Bulldogs, you're probably still very disappointed.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of questions that need to be asked of the Manly side. They weren't good. But at the end of the day, 2 points is 2 points. And, should they make the finals, no one's going to look back and say, oh, well, they played poorly in round 3. At the end of the day, results get on the board. But they do need to be better. I think Tom Trbojevic, I don't know if he's off the pace. I think he's been targeted a lot more. And I think he needs to find a way to overcome that. The Manly side need to find a way to overcome that. Maybe they can mix up the way that they attack sides and use Tom Trbojevic as more of a decoy. Because if you know that there's going to be 2 players on him at all times, well, then maybe that means there's more space for someone else. But that's a Des Hasler headache. Can we say congratulations to Desi boy? 250 appearances, or 250 wins, I should say.
250 wins.
Well done to the mad scientist, that is Des Hasler. Lesson number 10, Dogs need a halfback. Brendan Wakem comes in. Jake Avalero is dropped. Much of the same for me. And if I'm being honest, while I like what Wakem did in terms of a last kick option, Dogs still lack control at times. And he got targeted defensively. He's quite small. He goes hard. Didn't miss too many tackles. But when you got that small body out there, boy, it's a massive target for other NRL sides.
Yeah, 100%. And Larry, we've spoken about this and I'll get your thoughts on it. Kyle Flanagan now, Burden, brilliant player, but he's struggling with his kicking. You need a halfback. You need a kicker. Insert Kyle Flanagan. Like, obviously, you spoke about it. You did speak on it with Brave Dog. If you haven't seen that episode, please go back and watch it. It was a great episode to listen to. But do you think Kyle Flanagan could be the answer, Larry?
I don't know if he is the answer, but I've got a lot of questions. And the reality is that we've got one halfback in the top 30 and he's nowhere to be seen. Now, I don't know what's gone wrong with Kyle Flanagan, but it can't be that bad that Trent Barrett's not going to pick him to the detriment of the side. I just think give him an opportunity. He might not be the answer. He might play 1 game or 3 games and we realize, you know what? Yep, this guy's simply not first grade standard. He had 2 try assists last week, the same as Brendan Wakem did. Brendan Wakem played 6. Kyle Flanagan played 7. The halfback got dropped for the guy who's a 5'8". Just make it make sense for me. But same old questions. Good grit by the Dogs, good determination. But ultimately, they lost the game because they threw the ball out wide in the 75th minute when they should be going down the middle to set up for a field goal. The ball goes over. Well, it's Braden Birds trying to keep the ball in play. Then Manly run down the other side and kick a field goal. The difference, Manly have a halfback, the Bulldogs don't. And that's where the game was won and lost. But that's 10 things we learned. Antonio, have you learned anything else?
I've learned that Larry's going to make fun of me and he doesn't like me very much.
Oh, that's a lie, mate. I like you. I just like picking on you as well. But what I have learned is you should subscribe to the Gone for 10 show. And if you don't subscribe and if you don't like the video, you tell him, Tony.
You can go for 10, and if you don't follow next week, you can go with Barnett.
Oh, you can go with Barnett. I like that one. I like that one. He was upset in the sheds. I felt sorry for him. I hope someone gave him a hug.
He was, but don't get too close because he might throw an elbow.
Will Smith slap against Chris Rock. How many weeks do you think that gets you? That's going straight to the NRL judiciary for sure. I don't even think. Can you even call that a reckless tackle? What would you call that?
Oh, that was worse than the elbow. Let's put those in perspectives. If Barnett's getting at least 5 to 6 weeks, Will Smith's gone for the season because he's charged up there. He's lined him up. He's made a massive swing and he's gone straight at the face. So
yeah,
he's gone. He's gone.
Intentional.
It's intentional.
Yeah. Reckless man. I just love the way he reacted. I know this is a rugby league show, but I can't get over it. I just thought it was really funny. Keep my wife's name out your mouth. Anyway, sorry. I digress. I hope you've all enjoyed that video. Tony, hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for joining me as always. And we will do a season preview. We'll do a round 4 preview shortly. So make sure that you do stay tuned for that. And Tony, I'll catch you in a little bit.
See you soon, mate. Pleasure as always.
All right. Cheers.